Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson here with eXp Realty, bringing you another monthly market update. And this week we're going to be focusing on single family dwellings. Let's dive right in. Okay, so starting off big picture. Last month we had 226 new listings, 118 sales. The average list price was $848,666. The average sale price was $822,701. Average sale price to list ratio was 97.1. Average days on market was 34.57, and we ended the month with an inventory of 461 units. So let's take a look at what that does for the market conditions. As always, I like to use both the monthly supply of inventory method as well as the sales to new list ratio, as I find using both measures gives a more complete picture of what's going on in the market. With that said, using the monthly supply of inventory method, we came in at 5.97 months, which is technically in a buyer or neutral market, but it is bordering on a buyer's market. If we use the sales to new list ratio instead, we came in at 52%, which is pretty well right smack dab in the middle of a neutral market. Now, let's take a look at the active inventory last month. So, new listings fell month over month from 239 down to 226. However, new sales jumped up sharply from 87 up to 118. Expireds were flat at 21, and the benchmark price for a detached home in Kamloops rose $1,500 from 680,700 up to 682,200. Now, let's take a look at the end of month inventory. As I stated earlier, last month we ended the month with an inventory of 461 units, which is 17% above the trailing 10-year average of 394, and it is currently the third highest for this time of year in the last decade. If we look at new listings instead, we see that so far, year to date, there's been 1,141 new single-family dwelling listings, which is the highest over the last 10 years. And currently, we are sitting about 11% above the trailing 10-year average of 1,028. If we look at the sold units instead, it is a very different story. So far, year to date, we've only had 457 units sold, which is the second lowest in the decade. We are only one sale ahead of where we were in 2020 for this time of year, and currently we are sitting 24% below the trailing 10-year average of 602. Now let's jump over and take a look at the sales dashboard, starting off with the average sale price. So this table is measuring a full year over a full year, and when looked at that way, prices are actually up 2.04%, rising from 775,000 and change to just shy of 791,000. Currently, the most expensive areas of town are Sun Peaks, Tobiano, and Sun Rivers, with an average sale price anywhere between $1,058,000 all the way up to $1.75 million. And currently, the cheapest areas of town are Cherry Lake, Paul Lake, and Pritchard, with an average sale price ranging from $465,000 and change up to $525,000 and change. Now, let's take a look at the sale to list price ratio. So all this is a measure of how much properties are selling below the list price on average. So it's a good proxy for how much negotiating room you have when you are the buyer. With that said, last month, it ticked up ever so slightly from 97.05% up to 97.1%. And currently, we're sitting about middle of the road over the last 12 months. Now, let's take a look at the sales by sub area. This table is year or full year over full year again. And when looked at that way, sales are down about 3.64%. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but notably, Aberdeen, Sun Rivers, and Rayleigh are all up anywhere between 30 to 47%, so big gains, whereas the areas that are getting hit the hardest are Bachelor and Barnhart Vale, both around down 27% for yearly volume. So finally, let's take a look at days on market, starting off with the 10-year. So far, year to date, it's taken an average of 41 days for detached homes to sell, which is exactly on pace for the trailing 10-year average. If we look at the trailing 12-month average instead, we see that in June, days on market fell quite a bit, falling 7 days from May from 42 down to 35. And currently, we are sitting about 28% below the trailing 12-month average of 49. Finally, let's take a look at days on market by sub area. Once again, this table is full year over a full year. And when looked at that way, in totality, we're taking about 6% longer to sell. And currently, the areas of town taking the longest to sell, or sorry, that are selling the fastest are Westmont, Sahalee, and Dufferin, with an average days on market ranging between 26 up to 33. And the areas of town taking the longest to sell are Paul Lake, Sun Peaks, and Red Lake, with an average days on market ranging between 98 all the way up to 158 days. That's all we have for today. I really hope that you guys are continuing to get value out of these market updates. If you are, please consider liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. And if there's ever anything you want added to these market updates, or maybe something that needs to be more thoroughly explained, please feel free to leave your comments or suggestions in the comment section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I'm able. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.